Hello everyone, I'm Leifkicker.
And I'm the Bean.
Thanks for tuning back in.
So the first week of the new weekly queue is complete and shipping out.
Let's take a closer look at that squirrel. So this is squirrel number 28 and acorn number 30. If you stay tuned later in this video, we are going to watch me make the first mold for the Chatterfang, another version of the squirrel. And the squirrel is just the pedestal that holds the actual deck box. So you don't have to actually buy the squirrel. If you want, you can just get the deck box itself. And have a clever little way to display your deck box. And this is acorn number 30 with these magnets in this little stand. Just hooks right there. So when you're playing, you can just set it on the side and it's not going to roll anywhere. But if you like this stand, it also uses the magnets to find itself on the stand. You just line those up and bam, there you go. I've cleaned all the paint off of Chatterfang so we can really get the finest details we could possibly get in the fur. We added a necklace, or finished the necklace for his little tooth necklace, and just dremeled on him for a while, added some more fur detail, and rinsed him off, and he's ready for mold. So that's the next step for him. Here's the arms and the tail. For the base, I did not clean off the paint because I want the paint to add detail to the bones, and the way I painted on pretty thick around these nuts to give it an extra detail, so when we do paint the casting, that it's going to have more detail to pick up the paint on. So we're going to put these in mold boxes and get to making a mold of this guy. I've got everything all prepped and ready to start pouring some silicone on, and before I do that, I thought I'd show you how I prepped everything. This is just going to be a one-piece pour on this base. I had some extra white clay, so I went ahead and filled in around the edges here just to kind of reduce some of the silicone costs. Silicone's kind of expensive, and if I make 3, 4, 5 molds, this will save me some money over time. This tail, just glued to a board. I haven't screwed this walls around because I need to paint on some of the silicone underneath here to try to get any air bubbles out. It's going to sit like this when I pour it. We'll pour from the top, like so, after I paint some things on it. We're going to try something a little different this time with the arms. I got 2 sprues, and this is going to sit in the bottom of the cup like so, and we're just going to paint on the silicone first, then we'll set it back in the cup. We'll fill the cup full of silicone, and when I'm all done, or it's all dry and cured, we'll go in with a knife and we'll cut the silicone mold so we can remove the piece. For the main Chatterfang piece, the body, it's going to sit like this when we cast. So we'll be pouring from the top up here, and I tried to shape it so all air has a nice path to go out of the mold, so he's kind of crooked in there. And I just filled around Chatterfang and the other pieces with just some plastilina clay. You want to be sure to use a sulfur-free clay. Silicone does not like sulfur, and it won't cure wherever it's touching sulfur, so do be sure, it's important. And this will sit on like so. I got to go back through and fill in a little bit here, just like that. All right, let's go pour some silicone. Got everything mixed up. I just weighed the other squirrel that I've done in the past and kind of figured out how much silicone I'd need. 10 pounds is what I came up with. I'm going to try to quickly work through all of these, trying to do it all in the same shot. And brushing it on just helps ensure that there's no bubbles in the mold. We are going to pressure past this. And we're just going to brush this on the tail and the arms and the back of Chatterfang, and then we'll do a high pour to finish everything off. Pouring the silicone in a thin ribbon from really up high, a couple feet, allows the silicone to just pour down in little ribbon strips, and those strips are so thin that it helps force out the air bubbles too. Went ahead and put a little bit in here so I can kind of smooth it around, and as I work on the other pieces, the silicone can work around Chatterfang here and get it on the cracks and crevices. Then I can pour over the back of it again, top it off. I don't want to brush too hard when I'm brushing up against the clay. That way you don't distort the clay any more than you need to. Get it up in those ears. If you can see it up there, guys, see all those little bubbles? Kind of want those to pop out, and we want to make sure there's no bubbles on the back, and you can kind of see them popping on their own as they go. The pressure pot's going to get rid of most of these bubbles, but any help we can give it, all the better. All right, I think that's pretty good. So we got the tail screwed back on. We're going to pour, oh, not like that. You don't want to do that. Let's give that a minute to rest. Try not to hit my camera. It's too much pour. We want to thin that ribbon out. Try to aim over here in the corner. Oh, can't see that. Let it just slowly kind of work itself around the piece, and as it does it, it will help push the air out. I'm only filling these a little bit at a time so the air can come out as easily as possible. If you pour too much at once, then the silicone's so thick, air will get trapped inside. I like to rotate the molds around when they're about this full to, again, just help with trying to release any trapped air bubbles. Any air bubbles left in the mold will be little BB-like things that I have to Dremel off. It takes more time in the end if it's too bad. All right, I think that'll do it. Chatterfang is probably going to be all right the way he's laying, so I don't think we're going to need to rotate him around, especially since we brushed him as well. So now we just need to top these off, and we'll put them in the pressure pot for the night. You can go a little faster at the end now that all the key areas are covered. I was off on my measurement a little bit. You can see him poking over right here, top of the skull right here. So we'll mix up some more silicone and top these off, and then we'll put them in the pressure pot, but I'll do that off camera, so we'll come back next time and we'll pour the other half. The molds have set in the pressure pot all night long. This is the main body of Chatterfang. We're going to show you the next step on this, and that will be taking the clay out of the back, and we'll have to clean up the face of Chatterfang, and we'll put on another layer of silicone so the mold will be ready to make a casting. It looks like this is going to peel off real easy. Maybe one big chunk would be nice. Doesn't always come off like this. Sometimes you tear it off in little bitty chunks. Oh, that's great. The silicone still snuck around. I'll have to go through and clean all this off, and see it's down the sides a little bit, and that happens. That's okay. Then down here on the bottom, we're going to have to fill this in with some more clay. This is part of the sprues, so we'll pour in at the feet, and yeah, I'll show you that. Come right back. Went over the mold and cleaned off all of this stuff out from around the edges and such. We're going to build up some sprues right here and put him back in the box. We made the little sprues for his feet out of clay. These down here. And I started putting Vaseline on the silicone, just some regular old petroleum jelly. A silicone wants to stick to itself, so we got to be sure to go through and get a nice thin layer of this petroleum jelly spread all over the silicone. You want to be real careful not to get any on your piece because it's pretty goopy, and the silicone will definitely pick up all these little brush strokes that I'm doing right here on the silicone itself, and any little loose chunks that I get on the mold, on the main piece, the prototype here. I've already done this side, so you get the idea there. That shall do it. This is ready to fill up with some more silicone. This is the tail mold. I already took the screws out. Let's pop these off and see how it turned out. This one we'll have to cut out. Just make little jagged cuts so it'll seam back together. And there we go. This is the base. Should pop out pretty easily, I think. Some of the pieces will probably pop off when I try to pull this off, and that's okay. We just want a good mold. I always save the first casting out of each new piece, so I can. None of them did, so that's great. But anyway, I save a casting so that I can use the casting in future mold making endeavors. And there's the Chatterfang base. So this is going to be the trickiest mold. We got to cut it out of the cup and out of the mold, but it produces a pretty good quality casting. We're all said and done. There's the base we glued everything to. So I made a little mark on the base that I know the thumb is right here. So the back of the arm and hand is this way. We are going to cut the opposite way. I said that backwards. The back is actually over here. Just cutting down the mold with little zigzaggy lines. Start to see them peeking out in there. These wound spreaders, pretty inexpensive, and they do a great job holding open the mold while you try to cut it. I'll probably end up breaking the hand off getting this first one out, but once we get to the casting part, we'll be able to pull these out pretty easily. The prototype is just kind of clay and a little bit of wire armature, so it's more brittle than the resin. See him in there? Oh, you can already see a crack. So look, you can't even see the cut line very well when it's all put together. So with no seam here, there won't be a seam on the inside either, and we'll have nice quality pieces. And this is the final pour for Chatterfang. I've already taken the screws off of the mold frame. Feet broke off, but that's kind of expected. His ears are probably going to break off too, kind of like the arms on the other mold. The prototype usually gets broken in the molding process, but we'll make a casting up for the next prototype, so we'll have a long-lasting piece to make molds from in the future.
I hope everyone enjoyed watching Leif make the mold for Chatterfang.
Tune in next week where we show you how to make our first casting.
Thanks for watching.